Welcome back. If you just joined us, our guest on this episode of Question Time is the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Mr. Usani Uguru. Stay with us. So, are you saying arms recovery has no security implication?
Of course it has. But under the special arrangement we had, the background to that development is not for public view. Arms recovery has security implications because when you recover arms, it means you are securing the area. And then the methodology or approach of the recovery is what differs. Because if you are recovering by confrontation, it's different from recovery by agreement. And of course, to get to that point, knowing what we want, what we intend to recover, is not the type of things we see where people will say they want to enlist into the amnesty to gain stipends. That's not what I mean. But the very consequential, threatening arms, that's what we are talking about.
One of the claims by the petitioners is that the appointment of Mr. Tikari is a grand plan to compromise the entire security of the Niger Delta region.
Yes, some of those petitioners are sponsored by those who want to come and take this office. They want to take the office because they want to continue to use them for oil bunkering. As you know, oil bunkering is something that is encouraged, masterminded, and patronized by very big people in this country. It's not those small people that are the operational field people that anchor oil bunkering.
Now let's come back to the issue of identity of Mr. Tikari. It's been said that you didn't carry a thorough investigation before appointing Mr. Tikari to coordinate the arms recovery program in your own word now. Could you set the record straight on this?
The identity in terms of where he belongs or what he's capable of doing or what he stands for are all different perspectives to the issue. But like I said, the background to that engagement is what I don't think should be put in the public glare, because I did some verifications when he was suggested. I had never known him, but he was suggested from certain quarters which we thought could give us results.
But it's on record that the Danjuma family issued a disclaimer that the person is an impostor.
He was not appointed because he's from Danjuma's family. Again, I repeat, he was not appointed because he's from Danjuma's family. If it was a family issue, we would seek reference from the Danjuma family.
Now, how would you react to allegations that Mr. Tikari offered you 200 million bribe to get this appointment?
In my very normal character, I don't have response for such stupidity.
What do you make of the emerging reports that the Niger Delta Ministry has a total of about 420 billion naira abandoned projects?
I'm not aware of that. My sensibility toward what they call abandonment is that you have given up hope on that, under the conditions of that award.
Well, you said, you said in a report that at the end of last year, out of 400 billion naira contracts awarded,
over 400 billion.
Over 400 billion naira awarded, that only 20% was
12% achievement
was implemented.
Yeah, that's what we've said, suggesting that the contracts are ongoing. But to talk about abandonment means hope is lost. I've carefully tried to use the language I understand so I can explain to anybody what I mean. I won't talk of abandonment when we are still paying certain contractors to go to site. And I talked about outstanding liabilities based on certificates already with us to the tune of 34 billion naira, and said more than 420 billion had been expended from the inception of the ministry. And out of that, 12% completion rate at an average period of 5 years per project.
How far has the governing council that was appointed in charge of the Ogoni cleanup, how far have they gone in implementing the cleanup plan?
what I would call procedural provision for the execution of the Ogoni cleanup has the governing council, it has the board of trustees, it has the coordinating unit, which is the management level. And each of these arms has its own functions. But for the work to start, we needed some gazetting of some of those rules to give it the mandate of legal strength to be able to function. That has been concluded. But you recall that soon after that launch, the insurgency started again, or the bombing started. And so nobody felt safe to go to the site of project execution. That is not to say it's been abandoned. I'm saying this not as a mandatory duty, but because I'm privileged to be on the governing council. Otherwise, it is the Ministry of Environment that has the prerogative to speak on this and give you details of where execution is.
Would you say the federal government is showing enough commitment to stamp out insecurity in the Niger Delta region?
Not just in the Niger Delta region, in the whole country. In the entire country.
What are your facts?
The first fact is that, without talking about the Niger Delta region, the first obvious fact, which you also have registered, is the point that local governments that were held as territories of a sect in the northeast are liberated, and Nigeria has hosted the Nigerian flag once again in those places.
No, I'm talking of the Niger Delta region now.
The federal government is also doing enough to stamp out insecurity. What are the objects of insecurity in the Niger Delta region? Kidnapping, pipeline blowing, crude oil bunkering, petty theft, or armed robbery. These are the ones I know, which are of course very common. And then cultism. And none of these ones does not have a provision in our legal statute to be tackled or to tackle such. And so we can see of recent that, well, the state is not as it used to be. The only problems that we have experienced of recent are the ones considered to be politically motivated, where we hear people are hacked, ruthlessly. And of course, security agencies, to the best of my knowledge, we read on papers, we see in the media what actions are being taken and so on.
Before we wind down this conversation, the Niger Delta region, the reality today is that it's in a desperate polity that cries out for intervention. And now with just 2 years to go, what legacies do you think this federal government will be handing over to Nigerians as an evidence of quality service?
To answer you appropriately, we need to position, maybe if you like in your mind map, a tabulation of government's intention, actions possible, expected ends, and feasible results. Within the Niger Delta region, if you talk about desire for intervention or need for intervention or burning essence for intervention, it's actually the intention of the regime to intervene appropriately. And that's one of the demonstrations you saw in the early launch of the Ogoni cleanup.
Honorable Minister of Niger Delta Affairs Ministry, Mr. Usani Uguru, thank you so much for making our time to be part of this episode of Question Time. Thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.
In the days to come, how the federal government deals with the problem of militancy in the Niger Delta and fixing of the extremely plundered environment would go a long way in determining the peace and security in the Niger Delta region. And that's it on this episode of Question Time from Channels Television. You may also join in this conversation by sending us your comments on our various social media platforms showing on your screen. Join us next week on another exciting episode of Question Time. Many thanks for watching. I'm Benga Ashuru. Bye for now.